What if the unrest on Iran's street is not just about protests, but about power? What if the chants of young Iranians echo far beyond Tehran, into Washington, Moscow, Doha, and Tel Aviv? For decades, Iran has believed the United States wants one thing above all else: regime change. The United States, on the other hand, claims it is standing for freedom, human rights, and regional stability. Between these two narratives lies a country shaped by revolutions, sanctions, faith, science, and resistance, and a Middle East that is being quietly realigned. To understand today's unrest and what may come next, we must go back to 1979. Before the Islamic Republic, Iran was ruled by Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, a close ally of the United States. Iran hosted US intelligence operations. Western oil companies had a deep influence. Iranian culture was rapidly westernized. Political dissent was crushed by SAVAK, the Shah's secret police. To many Iranians, this was not modernization, it was loss of sovereignty. Iran had become a pawn in Western chessboard. In 1979, mass protest, strikes, and religious mobilization overthrew the Shah, creating the Islamic Republic of Iran. In 1979, the Shah of Iran fell. His rule had delivered modernization, oil wealth, and Western alignment, but also inequality, censorship, and a brutal secret police. When the monarchy collapsed, the streets filled with millions demanding dignity, justice, and independence. Out of that revolution emerged not a democracy, but a theocratic state who claimed that their authority comes from God. The revolution rested on three foundational ideas. Number 1, independence from foreign powers. No East, no West. Iran rejected both US and Soviet domination. Number 2, Islamic governance. The concept of Velayat-e-Faqih placed religious authority above elected institutions. Number 3, resistance culture. Iran defined itself as a state that would resist Western imperialism, Israeli dominance, foreign interference in Muslim lands. This ideology shaped everything from foreign policy to social laws. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini transformed Iran into an Islamic republic governed by clerical authority. Power was concentrated under the doctrine of Velayat-e-Faqih, the rule of the supreme Islamic jurist, placing religious oversight above elected institutions. What began as a revolution of many voices became a system ruled by one. Soon people started to feel we overthrew a king only to crown clerics. Power centralized under the supreme leader. Opposition parties were banned. Revolutionary courts moved swiftly. Executions and imprisonments followed. The state was no longer merely political. It was moral, ideological, and absolute. Soon after the revolution, strict social codes reshaped Iranian life, especially for women. There is no single written dress code, but mandatory hijab became law. Women were required to cover their hair and wear loose-fitting clothes that conceal the body. Enforcement varied, but the symbolism was absolute. In government offices, rules were stricter. On state television, women wore layered scarves. In some mosques, women were required to wear chadors, covering all but the face and eyes. Men faced restriction too, though far less severe. Western hairstyles, clothing, and behavior were periodically targeted. Over time, Iranian society evolved quietly. Fashion diversified, youth culture flourished. The internet connected a generation to the world beyond its borders. And with each step towards social relaxation came renewed crackdowns. Protests became a recurring feature of Iranian life. 1999, 2009, 2017, 2019, each driven by economic pain, political frustration, and social suffocation. Each met with arrests, internet shutdowns, and force. But the current unrest is different. Despite sanctions, Iran invested heavily in nuclear research, missile and drone technology, space and satellite programs, cyber capabilities, indigenous military production. From Iran's perspective, the West doesn't oppose our weapons, they oppose our independence. Iranian leaders often argue that any Muslim or non-aligned country developing advanced science becomes a target. From the US and Israel's perspective, Iran's capabilities threaten regional balance. Its support for groups like Hezbollah and Hamas is destabilizing. Thus, science itself became political. Sanctions were imposed to curb Iran's nuclear program, missile development, and regional military activities. After the collapse of diplomatic agreements, European signatories invoked the snapback mechanism of the 2015 nuclear deal on 28 August 2025, automatically reinstating sweeping penalties. These included arms embargoes, asset freezes, travel bans, and nuclear, missile, and banking sanctions, impacting nearly every sector of the economy. For a country of almost 90 million people, the cost is immense. Inflation, currency collapse, unemployment, and shrinking opportunities. It's not Iran's leadership alone that feels the pain, but ordinary families. Under pressure, Iran pivoted east. Strategic partnerships deepened with Russia and China. Trade corridors expanded. Energy deals were signed. Iran sought membership and influence within BRICS, betting on a multipolar world to offset Western isolation. Regional realignments followed as Gulf states cautiously reopened dialogue, even as tensions simmered beneath the surface. For decades, conflict between Iran and Israel unfolded in the shadows. Cyber attacks, assassinations, proxy wars. That era is ending. Israel and the United States carried out 12 days of strikes inside Iran in June 2025, killing more than 1,000 people and causing billions of dollars in damage, the first openly acknowledged attacks of their kind. Fear now grips the region. More strikes, wider war, energy shock. US President Donald Trump reiterated a red line. Iran will not be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon. Amid mounting speculation, Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities remain a real possibility. For decades, Iran built an axis of resistance, a strategic network designed to confront Israel and US power far from Iranian borders. Its pillars include Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, militias in Iraq and Syria, the Houthis in Yemen, but that strategy is now under severe strain. The October 7, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel triggered a devastating Israeli campaign in Gaza and a second war in Lebanon. Hezbollah, once Iran's strongest deterrent, has been severely battered. Israel has now struck Iranian territory directly. Iranian officials insist defiance remains intact. In January 2020, the United States killed General Qasem Soleimani, commander of Iran's Quds force. To millions, he was the architect of Iran's regional power. To others, the face of endless proxy wars. His death marked a turning point, transforming rivalry into direct confrontation. Russia now plays a critical role aligned with Iran economically and militarily. yet working to prevent a wider war that could spiral beyond control. Moscow's mediation aims to avoid direct Iran-Israel war, US intervention, regional collapse, because the next conflict may not remain regional. Today's unrest is different. It is led not by clerics or parties, but by women, students, artists, and workers. Its causes: economic collapse, cultural suffocation, police brutality, a generational divide. Some say these are foreign backed riots, but people of Iran say, "We are Iran and we want to breathe." More than 26,300 people have been arrested. The death toll from the protest has reached at least 4,519 people, according to the US-based human rights activist news agency. Iran warned US President Donald Trump not to take any action against the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, days after Trump called for an end to Khamenei's nearly 40-year reign. While no final decision has been made, the scale of military buildup combined with Israel's heightened readiness and Iran's warnings suggest the situation remains highly volatile. Iran is not collapsing, but it is not comfortable. The system is rigid, but not blind. The youth are restless, but not unified. This is not the end of Iran. This is a long siege. Political, economic, cultural, and history teaches one brutal lesson. Nations under pressure do not always surrender. Sometimes they harden into something far more dangerous.